Hello there. My name is David Ives. I'm the Executive Director of the Albert Schweitzer Institute here on campus. We're pleased and proud to co-sponsor this event with Dr. Yunus here, along with the School of Business. A couple of housekeeping details before we get going. One is, if you have cell phones, please turn them off so that you don't interrupt us during the course of the conversation, which I hope will be really good. And I also would like to, there's a number of you that may have classes at 3 o'clock, and we'd like to we'll pause right about 5 of 3 so that you can leave the room gracefully and get to your next class as needed. I'd like to introduce each one of the panelists. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on each one because their bios are in front of you on the yellow sheets of paper on your chairs. But it is an honor to have Dr. Muhammad Yunus here, who is the 2006 Nobel Peace Prize Laureate. And it's a culmination of effort, especially from Muhammad Alahi, to make this event happen. And we thank you, Dr. Yunus, for coming. It's a real honor. Another panelist is Mr. Shah Newaz. He's the CEO of operations for Grameen Bank and is responsible for directing all the financial services programs for the Grameen Bank in America. To my right is Buck Harris. He's the Vice President of Microlending at Connecticut Community Investment Corporation, and he's an adjunct professor of business here at Quinnipiac. I've also had the pleasure of traveling with him to Nicaragua on some microloan programs, and he knows what he's doing, and he also knows how to have a good time.
Not necessarily in that order.
I'd also like to welcome Vidar Jorgensen, who is the founder and president of Grameen America and Grameen Research, and has done work in microloans all over the world, including Costa Rica, Guatemala, Mexico, Colombia, China, and a number of other places. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thanks.
What I'd like to do is open up the discussion with each one of the panelists giving an opening statement. I'd like you to talk about how you became involved in microloan programs and what their strengths are and why you think it's a good idea.
Want me to start?
Sure, you can start.
Okay, great. I first met Professor Yunus in 1993 when Sam Daly Harris introduced him to me, and I followed him till 2005, and I met him at another Sam Daly Harris conference in Amman, Jordan. Says, Vidar, you've been talking, you've been listening, you've been sending emails, but you haven't done a thing yet. And he says, you got to come see it. You know, you can't just read about it and talk about it. You got to come to Bangladesh. So he got me to go to Bangladesh, and it was just so great that I went back a few months later with my daughter, my wife, and 2 of their best friends. And since then, I've been working about 80% of my time on Grameen-related activities. And we've been successful because of people like Shah Newaz. In the U.S., there are 800 microfinance organizations. Only 200 of them lend money. And only about 2 have repayment rates of 95% or more, which is really what's needed to be truly a sustainable business. And Shah has a repayment rate of 99.4%. Mm-hmm. So the success of Grameen America is because of people like Shah Newaz, who had 30 years of experience with Grameen in Bangladesh. And each of our branches here in the U.S. are run by people that he handpicks. And so he now has 6 branches in New York. He has a branch in Omaha, Indianapolis, San Francisco, Los Angeles, and Charlotte, North Carolina. And he does such a good job of doing that I just get in the way. And that has enabled me to focus on healthcare for our borrowers. And I'm really excited about being here because I know this university has one of the best, best-known nursing schools in the area, and also has a very good science and health program. And I would like to meet people who will help us build a clinic for Grameen borrowers in Queens, New York, that we are highly confident will reduce the cost of care by 50% and will improve the outcomes by 50%. We're absolutely confident that will happen. Professor Yunus launched Grameen Kalyan in Bangladesh, And that has 54 clinics in Bangladesh, so we're going to learn from that. Professor Yunus has also started a nursing college in Bangladesh, and we would love to get some of those nurses to come here to this university to finish some of their international degrees. So we would like to start a really solid link between this university and Grameen in Bangladesh and Grameen in Queens, New York. And we also hope, if Shah will let us, we hope to open a branch in either New Haven or Bridgeport here in Connecticut. But he's the boss, so we have to convince him that we can do that. But one thing that makes me enthusiastic is that Grameen has 8.4 million borrowers in Bangladesh. It has 27,000 employees, or about that, 25. And Shah picks the best of those. Sometimes they suggest people and he says, no, they're not good enough for me. And so he's gotten just really terrific quality employees here. And I think we can do the same in healthcare. I think we can bring great nurses from Bangladesh, but we can hire great nurses from this university as well and have them work perhaps in Bangladesh. So instead of having a brain drain, we have brain circulation, and that sounds better to me than a brain drain. So it's my honor to be here on a panel with the two people who've probably changed my life more for the better than anyone else. Professor Yunus, who finally got me to stop emailing and talking and doing something, and Shah Newaz, who does the microfinance lending so well that I have the time now to focus on healthcare. And it's just something that is working. The microfinance is working well and at scale, and I'm highly confident the healthcare will as well. And we want you to not just talk and study, but we want you to join us and do something with us.
Okay, thank you. Shah?
Yes, I came in US in 2007. First, I did some market study, and then I started to forming the group, which is our first requirements for lending. And in 2008, January 15th, we were able to disburse our first loan. That was the beginning of our Grameen American's operation. And within 1 year, we achieved about 500 borrowers. And then we were thinking to expand the program, and we expanded this program to Brooklyn and the Manhattan. And the next year, another 2. Now we have about 11. Now we have 11 branches, in the 6 in the New York, and there are 12,000 borrowers in New York, and other 5 branches in other states. One is Nebraska, one is Indianapolis, 2 in California, 1 in North Carolina. So in total, we have about 15,000 borrowers, and so repayment rate is 99.6, about the 100%. And many of our borrowers, we have been observing that they are developing their businesses. For example, some borrowers, they were selling their product on the street, going door to door. Now they are able to start a store, it's a flower store like that, or they started a small store, grocery store. But before they they're peddling their product door to door, house to house on the street. So, and this loan is 6 months and a 1 year loan, but maximum of our borrowers, they are receiving this loan for 6 months. And the first time loan is the maximum is the $1,500. And when they paid off, they will get the next loan without any formalities, because to get into this program first time, we have a process for selections and for recognitions of the group. But the next time we don't need that formalities, just they paid off, and right away they can get their next loan. And maximum loans we disburse $8,000 for some of our borrowers they are receiving, and they are developing their business very well, especially in the New York, because you know the New York is a very good transportations, and there is a good marketing facility there. So in other state also, they are doing well. We are hoping that in these years, we are planning to open another 11 branches. You see, from the beginning, the 5 years we opened 11 branches, but now we have a confidence, and we have a technology. I mean, the local technologies we already achieved, and we are planning to open in this year another 11 branches. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Yunus.
Well, on the microcredit side, a lot of things have been said. I just mentioned that began in 1976 in one village next to the university where I was teaching, trying to see if I can help people delink themselves from the loan sharking, because there are lots of loan sharking going on in that village. So I thought, why don't I lend the money instead of just writing about it, writing thesis about it, and just get the job done. So I started lending money out of my own pocket. And my first loan was total of $27 given out to 42 people. So you can see how brave I was. And it made such a sensation in the village. So I started continuing that and then tried to link the bank with the people. Bank said no. Finally, after months of negotiation, I offered myself as a guarantor. I said, I'll sign all your papers, and I take the risk, and you give the money. Finally, 2.5 months later, they agreed to that proposal, and I was signing papers and getting money for the people in the village, and came up with simple rules, procedures, so that it becomes easy for people to pay back. And the payback was excellent, near 100%. So I continued. And then in 1983, we converted the whole thing into a bank, formal bank. We call it Grameen Bank or Village Bank. And it expanded and expanded, became nationwide. Today, it has 8.5 million borrowers, mostly women. 97% of the borrowers are women. And the special thing is the bank is owned by the borrowers. So it's not something that run by NGO, run by rich people or anybody. It's a bank which is owned by the borrowers themselves. So it's owners of the poor women of Grameen Bank. And another special thing about Grameen Bank, it doesn't take any money from outside. It all generates its own money as it goes around. We have over 2,600 branches all over the country, as Vidar was mentioning, with 26,000 staff to run that. And each branch is financially independent. It's not just Grameen Bank itself financially independent from outside. Each branch is financially independent, meaning that it has to generate enough money by itself by taking deposits and lending the same money to the poor people in the area. And then at the end of the year, you have to make profit. And when the total profit of the bank, it goes back to the borrowers as dividend. So it's a continuous, it's a complete circle. It remains within itself. Most of the focus of Grameen Bank comes on the lending side. People always talk about how much money you're lending and so on, whether repayment is good, etc. Yes, of course, lending started, as I said, with $27. Today, there's more than $1.5 billion lent out each year, and money, that total is growing as the size of the loans is growing with each passing year. And out of this $1.5 billion, we have all the money inside the bank, more than $1.5 billion. We have plenty of reserve in case of crisis in terms of disaster, so that we don't have to go out for money. So we create a big reserve within the bank itself. Along with the credit part, the one that people don't pay attention is the savings part. When you become a Grameen Bank borrower, you automatically take the responsibility of putting little money in your own savings account. So every borrower has to have a savings account. And similar thing is done in Grameen America. Shah probably will explain that. Whatever a small amount you can save, you will save. There is no kind of getting away from that. Even if it's a penny, you have to put a penny. So every month, every week, you are paying some money. When you put little money every week regularly, and you continue to grow in number, the total savings becomes bigger and bigger. Today, the $1.5 billion that we lend out, nearly $1 billion comes from the deposit of the borrowers themselves. So you can see the power of that money. It's their money, it's the balance of their money. They withdraw money and put new money, but every week they're putting some money in. So that money is continuously growing. So this is one other aspect of the Grameen Bank part I thought I should mention. And Grameen Bank also pays a lot of attention on the children of Grameen families, because the first generation borrowers are all illiterate. They cannot read, cannot write. We wanted to make sure the children of Grameen Bank don't go through the same cycle. So we wanted to get them out. We made sure that all the children of Grameen families go to school. We ensured that right from the beginning, that every child must go to school. As a result, thousands and hundreds of thousands and now millions of these young people are in schools, and they are getting from the primary school to the high schools and graduating from high schools and then want to go into higher education. But higher education needs money, unlike the other levels of education, which is free. So they stopped there. I said, no stopping. So we give you education loan. So we gave thousands and thousands of young people education loans to complete their education, graduations and master's degrees, PhDs. In many universities that I go to in the US, when I'm talking about them, somebody in the crowd will say, I'm from Grameen Bank, I'm here. So they are studying here in the US. I'm going to Minnesota for a completely different reason. That's a Nobel Laureate Forum they have in Minnesota, starting from day after tomorrow. So one letter that I got, that one of the young students we found in our university who claimed she is the daughter of one of the Grameen Bank borrowers. So we are checking up with you whether you know about her. I said, I have no idea that she ended up there. So I checked with her later on. She is from a Grameen Bank family. She got education loan, got her graduation in Bangladesh, got a scholarship, now studying in US university. So this is the second generation coming out of the first generation. So our idea is poverty cannot be eradicated in one generation of the one that we have, which are illiterate, which has no experience and so on. But their children should not repeat the history of their parents. So that will be the last generation who had the poverty. From next generation on, they should be completely out of it. And then the idea of microcredit is spread around the world. We had our first microcredit summit. He was mentioning, Vidar was mentioning about Sam Daly Harris, who organized this microcredit summit in 1997 in Washington, D.C. And the goal that we set in our microcredit summit is to reach 100 million poorest families with microcredit by 2005. That was the goal set in 1997. And then 2005 was declared by the United Nations as the year of microcredit, if you remember, some of you may remember. So we celebrated that year, 2005, as the year of microcredit, but we did not reach 100 million in 2005. We are very close, but we didn't complete it. We completed it by the first half of 2007. Finally, we made 100 million. Today, in 2013, I would say about 170 million people have reached microcredit with that speed that we have. So this is the speed we continue to do that. And every 5 years, there's a global microcredit summit. And there are regional summits every year, with the Latin American summit, African summit. And this year is the year of microcredit summit for Asia and the Pacific. It will be held in Manila, Philippines. So you're all welcome to come and join and kind of participate in seeing what's happening with the microcredit thing. Microcredit went through ups and downs in terms of newspaper coverage, media attention, media bashing. In 2010, there was a kind of a general feeling that microcredit is over, this is falling apart, and so on. All happened because of one state in India called Andhra Pradesh had difficulty with microcredit. This is a story, we can bring it up, discuss about it. But it was billed in the rest of the world that microcredit in India has collapsed. So we had to go and explain nothing collapsed in India, only having a problem in one state in India. The rest of India is doing as good as anybody else, and so on. So this is, now it came back again, it's all settled. Microcredit is functioning and proceeding and so on. So this is the microcredit story, how to make it to the journey, and what other issues like savings. We included many other things like healthcare, which Vidar was mentioning a little while ago. We offer health insurance to our borrowers. Not all borrowers. We have a section of the borrowers that we were focusing on. They pay about $3 a year as a health insurance to cover the entire family. So we provide the entire healthcare service to the clinics that he was mentioning. There are 52 clinics run as a social business. You cover all your cost, and we have medical doctors, nurses, paramedics, and so on in a lab, pathological lab, all covered by their premium that they pay for the insurance that they cover. But we want to do more. We want to bring technology into it. How to bring technology so that the healthcare can be provided at home, not at the clinic, not at the hospital. So that's a new thrust. Probably we have time, we can explain how we are doing that. All diagnostic services to be done at the patient level, at the person level, at home. She doesn't have to go anywhere with a mobile phone. Everything can be done, or any diagnostic service can be provided with that. And we are collaborating with the big diagnostic equipment companies. That's where Vidar again comes in. He runs a global World Healthcare Congress. I just invited the Dean of Nursing School here.
Great.
To come, and I think we should sort it out so that she can come meet everybody from the nursing school in Bangladesh. So this is our focus is on a healthcare service, focusing on mother and child. We want to bring down the maternal death. Maternal death in Bangladesh is still kind of the higher side. We have come down quite a bit, but not all the way that we can reach the Millennium Development Goal. So we are focusing on that. That's where our technology is focusing right now. It's a very interesting technology. We'll discuss about that. And other priorities are children. Children malnutrition, children's healthcare, children's first 5 years of growth of the children, and so on. So that's the healthcare piece added to the microcredit, but we run it as a separate company. We call it social business. So all the healthcare things we do on the side comes as a separate business, but closely linked with each other. As a social business, cover all the costs, but make sure everybody gets the service and so on. So I'll stop here and pick up the subjects as we go on.
Thank you, Dr. Yunus. Buck?
I work for Connecticut Community Investment Corporation right here in beautiful Hamden. And I work for a company that is an SBA microlender. The Small Business Administration doesn't loan money to people. They loan money to intermediaries. And then it's up to the intermediary to interview and take applications and do the technical analysis support and the underwriting and decide whether or not small businesses are going to get loans. There are about 75 microloan companies that participate in the microloan program across the United States. There's 3 of us here in Connecticut. I got into this because I was at an MBA, got my MBA here at Quinnipiac and graduated in 2009, and I had been interning for this company. I had worked for myself for about 16 years, so I had a nice mix of, entrepreneurial experience. I had a mindset around how small business works and small business modeling. I knew a lot of the pitfalls. Getting an MBA here, taught me that my own business outgrew my skill set, so that's why I didn't have my own business anymore. But at least I got that in my MBA program. And then, working as an intern, I just became more and more interested. I got to get out in the field a little bit, meet some of the small business owners. And then when Obama was elected, there was more money available for the grant that actually we operate on. So I was able to secure a full-time position there. I don't know if everybody knows the background of how microlending became an SBA program, but Bill Clinton, I believe, invited Dr. Yunus, he was then governor of Arkansas, to come to Arkansas and try to develop a microloan program in Arkansas, which they did.
In 1987.
In 1987.
Yeah.
So when President Clinton became president, he brought it to the SBA program. So I like to think if Dr. Yunus is the grandfather of microlending, I'm the grandson. Grandpa.
Okay.
So, because if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing right now, which is a really phenomenal job. I get to manage the microloan program, and in doing that, I work with a lot of people to help them develop a business model that's going to make sense and going to cash flow quickly, and that is going to be successful. And we do marketing, we do pricing, we do financial analysis, we do social networking. I mean, pretty much everything involved with a small business. And running a small business is a very, very complex affair these days. It's not like it used to be where you want to make sandwiches, you make a good sandwich, you're good. It's a very complex business. Every business is complex. And then 75% of my time I spend after people get loans, developing programs to help them improve their businesses and working with them one-on-one, going to visit their businesses, making suggestions. So I really travel all around the state of Connecticut doing that. I believe the original question was what makes microlending important to me. My company is very much different than Shah's company in that we write very few loans, about 30 microloans a year, but our average loan is about $37,000. The typical average microloan across the United States is about $13,000. So our model and our way of approaching microlending at my company is a little bit different. In that we really look for bigger, the loans are capped at $50,000, so we look for those bigger loans. So we really feel it's an internally mission-driven nonprofit. Our sense is for what we do, we're better off writing fewer loans and spending more time with the actual clients, helping them run their businesses, which is really what the microloan mandate is about. So we have about $1.5 million out in our portfolio, about 80 loans that we track and work with. And we try to write about 30 loans a year, and so we're slowly growing it. Obviously, loans get paid off. Some loans go into default. Shah said that they're around 99.4 or 6% loss rate. We try to keep ours at about 85% success rate.
Success rate. Yeah.
So a 15% default is huge. It's really not sustainable. But it is for this program because the money that we collect in interest, we try to break even against our loss rate and the money we collect in interest. And then the grant is what actually pays for the technical analysis support and the people that help to underwrite the program. So it's an interesting balance, an interesting dynamic, and it's a little bit different than what some of the other microlenders are doing. Some people really don't feel that it's microlending at all. At that point, we're really more like a bank. But what makes us a microlender, we think, is the technical support that we can provide. And so like it's really important. You see someone who's 58 or 59 years old that lost their job and they need to work, and they've got great industry experience, and with $40,000 they can get a business started and get themselves back on their feet again. I just worked with a guy who has Parkinson's disease. He's 38 years old. He couldn't keep his job, but he does consulting work around environmental issues, and we got him $15,000 so he could buy the computer and the equipment that he needed to do the testing. And in spite of the fact that he's got this terrible disease and he's got little kids, he's so excited because he's back in the workforce again and he's got some opportunity. So it's kind of a one little thing at a time for us, but it's definitely impactful, and I think it makes a big difference.
Thank you, Buck. Now I'd like to call your attention to two microphones that are on either side of the auditorium here. And I'd like to encourage any of you who have questions to please get up and ask them. We had lovely questions this morning. We would encourage especially the students to do this. In my classes, you can't get out of my class without talking and get a good grade, so I would encourage you to make sure that you avail yourself of this opportunity to ask questions of this distinguished panel. In the meantime, I'll ask a few questions until I see some people getting up, which hopefully happens soon. But Dr. Yunus, when I heard you speak a couple years ago, you talked about even giving microloans to beggars.
Yeah.
And they even knew market diversification at that level. Could you talk a little bit about that? I mean, it's even that level.
One of the problems that I always faced when talking in the U.S. that their usual conclusion is microcredit doesn't work in the United States. And Clinton started in Arkansas, it spread in Chicago and Navajo Indians and so on. It worked for a while and collapsed, didn't work. And then others started making microcredit, and they all do, so training financial management training or so, financial literacy training and all that, but don't lend the money actually, and call it microcredit program. Because it's not sustainable, that loss is too high, and it's a donor-dependent thing, and so on. I kept saying, no, you're not doing it right. If you do it right, it will work. So this is one thing continued, and I kept saying, they said, oh, it's not like Bangladesh. In Bangladesh, out of the situation that you have, people have some kind of a drive to do something. Here, people are not there. They just look for jobs. I said, no, all human beings are entrepreneurs. That's my conclusion. It's a question of unleashing that capacity, because the society has kind of suppressed that capacity, locked it up inside because of the way the culture grew in the system. I said, it's all question of time. So I went back to see how do I demonstrate that everybody has the entrepreneurial ability. Because another question came, only the entrepreneurial poor can handle microcredit. So you have to look for entrepreneurial poor. I said, why am I going to look for them? I think everybody's entrepreneur. It's much easier to do that. And I believe in that, everybody's entrepreneur. So I wanted to show that everybody's entrepreneur. I thought, why don't I concentrate on the beggars in Bangladesh? There are plenty of beggars in Bangladesh. I said, if they can show they have the entrepreneurial ability, then that proves that even a beggar has entrepreneurial ability. So I started that program. This is now about 6 years back I did that. And I thought I will have about 1,000 or 2,000 beggars in that program. All we do, go to the beggars, discuss with them their life, how they make it happen to their life to sustain by this begging, how much they make by begging, how much time they spend on begging, etc., etc. And they said, if you like, you can sell something. And we make it sound very simple to them by saying, you are going to the house anyway for begging purposes. I said, why don't you sell something to those people and carry something with you? Give them options, whether they want to give something free, like a food, like a little money to you as a charity, or buy something, some cookies, some candies, some toys for the kids, and we'll provide you the money to buy those stuff and sell. They like that idea. So if I'm going there, I can do that. So they have started that, and I thought maybe 1,000 or 2,000 beggars will come up and show that they can do that. It became a very popular program. Very soon, quickly, we had more than 100,000 beggars in that program. And the point he was referring to, probably, I was explaining what the beggars were telling me after a while. They already know which house is good for begging and which house is good for selling. I said, they didn't go to Harvard Business School, but they understand the market segmentation. So they know which way they proceed and so on. And very quickly, within about 4 years, we had about 25,000 beggars stop begging completely, because they are so successful in their business front that they were concentrating on the businesses and so on. And others are coming step by step to stop the begging part. And when my colleagues were saying that, why do they take so much time to stop begging? They have all the money, they can expand their business. I said, don't push them, because begging is their core business. You don't close down your core business quickly. So you have to make sure your business division is doing well before you close down the other division. So I said, this is their natural instinct, that they have to see that they can completely rely on the other kind of thing. And gradually people coming out of begging completely, because they borrow money, they take the first loan, pay back the first loan, second loan, third loan. Now there are 5th loan cycle going on in that. So we can see that something is happening, otherwise they won't be able to pay back.
And what is the average loan that they get, Dr.?
The initial loan starts in the range of $12 to $16. That's the initial loan. And I was arguing that if you can help people to start a business with $12 and $15 to go out of begging, how do you can defend not doing such a thing by a banking system? And what kind of banking, what kind of blind banking system we have? They don't see any social issues. And you cannot complain about not getting the money back. They're giving you the money back. So even if I given them as a charity $15, they will still remain beggars. They will not come out of it. Suddenly that $15 we gave as a loan changed their entire mindset, that I have to pay it back. So I have to earn. I have to earn enough to take care of myself, at the same time pay back the bank. And so that I can get the next loan, which will be $20 or bigger than that. So this is how they are doing. Yeah.
Thank you. You have a question?
First of all, thanks for
Could
coming.
you say your name and what your...
Yeah, sure. I'm Christian Spohr. I'm a sophomore at Quinnipiac. And I had a question about Grameen Bank. I know there are lots of companies around this country and internationally. One, like Hope International, is a microlender out of Philadelphia, and there are other religious affiliated microlending companies around the world. Do they pose threats as competitors with their religious agenda? And when you guys are trying to give loans to as many people as you can, do religious companies kind of go in and appeal to different customers more in a certain area because they're religiously affiliated with the people in that area, or does that not really affect your business?
I'll let Vidar answer
Yes,
that
go
because
ahead,
he has
Vidar.
to face this issue all the time.
There is so much need. We would welcome all the competition we can get. A lot of people that already have microfinance organizations say, oh, you know, there's not enough market demand here. But Shah has found 4,000 people just within Jackson Heights that need it, and there already was there were, I think, something like 10 microfinance organizations in New York City. And so there's plenty of unmet need, and we welcome all the competition that can come in as far as I'm concerned. I don't know how Shah feels about it, but there's plenty of unmet need. Shah, would you want to add anything to that?
Yeah. So when we started in Jackson Heights, so at the time, so we thought how much people we can get. You see that, but after 1 year, we have been getting a lot of the positive responses, and when we achieved the 3,000 the clients, then we have decided to open another branch in that area. I mean the Queens, and now we have a 4,200 the members in one branch, and we opened another branch maybe 3 months or 4 months ago, the Long Island City branch, and that branch it has about the more than 500. But still we are getting more people, I mean more positive responses. And we hope that in future we will open another branch in Queens. There are a lot of demands, and every corner of the New York and other surrounding area, for example, the New Jersey people, they are also calling me when we will go there to start up the program there. So I mean the client, a lot of clients still out of our programs, and they are requesting us. But you know, to start up a branch, we need an expert from Bangladesh, and we are hiring the local peoples, and then we train them up, and through the local peoples, we are operating our program. It takes some time, but we have a lot of peoples that are demanding for this program.
Well, let me add one more piece. While he's doing that, Jackson Heights and other places, Long Island, etc., also remember that there's another thriving business goes on all over New York and all over the United States. It's called payday lenders.
Yes.
Don't forget that. And payday lenders, usual interest rate would be 100%, 500%, 1,000%, 2,000%. That's the standard loan that you get from the payday lenders. And the interest rate in Grameen America is?
15% on declining.
On declining basis. That's a kind of business. So this is a thriving business. You open a newspaper, you see, no question asked, you get a loan, and et cetera, et cetera. And that's what you're borrowing. It's usually $700, $500, $2,000. And then you need a payday. He lends money those people who don't have a payday. So the people have payday, and they pay 1,000% interest, and it's a big business, and nobody cares. Banks don't get involved with it, and so on. So it's an endless need for people. If you see any ad in the newspaper of a payday lenders, you know you need microcredit. That's all.
I would like to add another one point, which is very related to this our program. You know, the credit score is very important in the United States. Credit score. If you have a good credit score, you can get a house rents or anyone, cell phones, any one thing. So in our system from the beginning, we incorporated the credit score. So the borrower, when they are paying our loan, their credit score goes up. So the clients we have now 15,000, and on average the credit score is very high, about 500 to 600. You know the maximum is 850. So our average credit score of our borrowers is more than 500 to 600.
Can I add something to that too?
Sure.
It's interesting because you see like there's these levels of lending for different size businesses. And so CTCIC, we're lending at a level that's at an underwriting standard that's below a bank. So it's almost like if a person can start at a level with Grameen with a $1,500 loan and then grow, and they've started a bank account and their credit score starts to go up, they can start to qualify for a $40,000 or $50,000 loan with a company like mine. And then beyond that, our goal is to get them to the point where they can actually get a line of credit and grow their business through a bank and develop a real bank relationship. So you take a person who didn't even have a bank account and you can actually move them up through the system since there's different levels of lending out there. And so that's really why we're positioned where we are in the marketplace to fill that void between the micro lender here and the banks here. There's a layer of lending in there that can really help people to move up.
Also on the savings side, in that, as I was mentioning, every borrower in Grameen system has to have a savings account. So they have all those 15,000 borrowers, they have their savings account. And standard deposit that you have to make every week is $2.
$2.
So everybody puts $2. How much is the total now you got?
$1.3 million.
Okay.
That's great.
We have
With $2.
disbursed $77 million, and our loan outstanding is $11.6 million. Saving is $1.3 million. This
Rob-
$2.
Picking up on one of the points that you made, there are controversies associated with microloans and the high interest rate. Why does interest rate have to be so high?
Compared to what?
Okay.
1,000? Yeah. Go ahead. It's 15%. In
The 15% is our on declining loan balances. Actually, our borrowers, they are paying because our repayment system is the weekly. Every week they are repaying 4% because the 6-month loan. So their loan balance is going down, so interest is also going down. So actually they are paying 7.5%. When I started this program, many of our borrowers at that time, they received the loan from local money lenders, 300 to 400%. So my first borrower, her name is the Elizabeth. You know the Elizabeth. She's in the to catch a dollar.
Yeah.
She received the loan 350% before joining the Grameen. And when she found the Grameen, she was very happy. And many of our borrowers, still, those who are not our borrowers, they are receiving the loan 200, 300% from the local money lenders. They're invisible peoples, but they are lending money.
And then the first branch in Jackson Heights now comes to the break-even point.
Yes.
It covers all its costs. So that's the important thing. Can you sustain yourself with the income that you're getting? It's not somebody getting rich out of this money. Only thing, cover all the costs because the service is delivered at home. Nobody has to come to office to find the money, put the money, and so on and so forth. So that's the important thing, that each branch, that 15 branch that he's talking about, to bring to the break-even level so that it runs by its own money. There is no deficit in the income and expenditure.
Now, are most people, women that get the microloan, are they responsible as a group
Yes.
for? And
It
have
is
you
a
ever done
requirement.
Go ahead.
Well, the loans are to individuals.
Individual.
Loan is
And they
individuals.
don't cross guarantee.
That's what I was wondering.
They don't cross guarantee. The cross guarantees create resentment, and it's not necessary. But the whole group has to be current for anyone to increase their loan. So
I
it makes
see.
it easier for them to increase their loans. I wanted to go back to the interest rate because when Shah says declining balance, that means that if you borrow $1,000 and you pay that back over 12 months, then the average amount that you have outstanding is $500. So your total interest is $75 the whole year, and there are no other fees on that. And if any of you really look at your credit card statements, you're paying a lot more than 18% because you have the fees and so forth. And so that is a very good rate, and you can get a loan for $100 in Jackson Heights in the morning, but you have to pay back $110 that evening. So that's 10% per day. That's the
another
alternative.
system.
Our borrowers say this is the lowest interest rates they've ever seen in their lives. And in most cases, it genuinely is. And it's genuinely less than probably what half the people in this room pay on credit card debt.
Any comment?
Well, we've experienced the same thing in Nicaragua, where you ask people what the interest rate is, and they say 10%. Oh, it's 10% a month, which is a lot different than 10% a year. So when we bring the students down there, and if any students are interested in going, you should definitely get involved and stop at the Albert Schweitzer Institute and talk to Aaron or David about it. It's a really phenomenal program because you're there really providing a great service to a few small businesses that don't otherwise have access to reasonably priced capital or don't have access to capital at all. And it's a travel abroad experience, but it's also, you're not just there as an observer, you're there making impactful decisions and really coming to understand underwriting and technical analysis support, and you get immersed in the culture a little bit. And so there's my plug for the Nicaragua program. But it's a great program.
Actually, you say that you are talking about the interest rate and compare. Actually, my borrower, they don't have any access to any financial institution.
I see.
They're not getting any loan. So there is no questions of interest rate because they don't have any access. Only they have access from money lender. So that's the things that compared to which.
Yeah, thank you. Now would be a good time to take about a minute pause for anybody that has to leave for the
I
next
see.
class. And hopefully that some of you that will stay with them line up at one of those microphones with a very stellar question.
I have another class.
Oh,
I got it.
so please, I'm serious. If anybody has a question, now's the time to get in line.
Thank you.
I just have class now.
You cleared the house.
Thank you for the question.
Okay.
Are you in line for a question? Okay, go ahead.
I'm Chris Coop, junior accounting major here at QU, and I was just wondering, I assume that most of your revenue generated is interest-based revenue. What eats up all your revenue as far as overhead? What kind of costs, because you say you want to break even, so what kind of costs do you incur? Generally, your biggest costs in running this sort of project?
The biggest cost is the salary of the
Salary.
staff.
Salary,
That
yeah.
is the biggest cost.
Salary, cost of fund.
Okay.
And we have another cost of funds, then the office rent, electricity.
Major is the cost of fund and the salary.
What would you say the average salary for an underwriter would be?
Average salary,
Or what is the monthly salary of a branch, like Jackson Heights?
is the 30,000 multiplied by 10 and 40,000 plus 40,000.
So the center managers, what do you start them at, the center managers?
30,000
Okay.
yearly, and the branch manager is the 40,000.
And each of those $30,000 a year center managers can take care of up to 400 borrowers.
Yes.
And you tell that to the average banker and they faint.
If you ever generate some sort of interest revenue bonus, what do you do with those bonus generations? Or usually is it just you calculate your interest percentage based off of the cost you have to cover, and then run it like that?
At this moment, we have only we are getting the revenue from interest. That is only the revenue. We don't have any other revenue sources.
No fees.
No fees. Okay.
No fees.
Because we are not accepting any fees or all the stationery, I mean the passbooks, all we are providing the free of cost. Just we have only the 15% interest rate.
Any other questions? Because I have some more. If
Would you talk about the legal fees? Because I thought that was very interesting when you mentioned your lack of legal costs in the overhead.
No, we don't have any legal fee because we have no lawyers in our system. It's a lawyer-free banking in the world.
Crazy.
oh my goodness.
So yeah. That's a big savings for us. A big savings for us.
My boss is a lawyer. I'm going to tell
Ah,
him
you
about
can-
this. I'm going to tell him about this.
He get me out of the country.
And why are you able to do that?
Because it's a trust-based banking. You don't need any legal papers or anything. You lend the money because she needs it, and she takes it on trust, and you give it to her. She pays it back.
Okay. Is it just? Oh, good. I'll take the question.
Hi, I'm Tom Nasser. I'm a junior entrepreneurship and philosophy major here. And obviously you guys have seen some remarkable results with microloans all over the world. And two-part question. One, do you see trends with what exactly people are using this money for, like types of businesses that just continually pop up? And two, do you have a network for people for these businesses to network with each other? So if one person is a suit maker and another person is a shoe maker, do you find that they link up and sell a package together or anything like that? Is there any inter-micro business loan network?
You know, we have our center meeting, weekly center meeting. The weekly center meeting where they are repaying their loans.
How many women will be in the center meeting?
In that center meeting, 30 to 40 we have, 30, 35, 40. These are the average size. So in that 30 people, so many, some are selling clothes, some are selling jewelry, some are selling the food, preparing food, cloth business, taxi driving like that, beauty salon like that. So they know each other, what types of business they are doing. So when they need anything, so they can sharings or they can selling their product among themselves. Some borrowers, those who are selling the breakfast food like that, so sometimes they are selling in front of the center meeting. So everybody are taking their breakfast and coffee. So that type of the business network they have. They are creating by themselves. And this is not the one center in one community. Maybe the 5, 6 centers in one community. It's not like one center. And these people, they also living in the same community and they know what type of business they are operating. So actually, in this way, they are creating their social business network. And sometimes if anybody face any problem for selling, so this center also suggests, so you can go in that area where you can get more selling, with the more sell. So that type of discussions always are happening in our center meeting. And in our center meeting, we have some the topics. First is the welcomes, and then the repayments, collection, and then discussion, then loan proposal. In the discussions items, then our center manager, they raise the questions about their business and if they face any problems or not. So our center managers, those who are staff, they are also helping to create the connections among themselves. So every time, and sometimes they are giving some information. So you can go in other center where all of our borrowers are doing that type of business. So they are getting this type of information from our center managers and in the center meetings.
They're really smart and they know what's needed. There are two of my favorite ideas. One is a lady who rents a chair at a beauty salon, and she decided to put a rack of shoes right beside her beauty salon chair. So as people are looking or having their hair done, she talks about the nice shoes over there. So she sells some shoes too. And then there's a lady in Bogota, Colombia, who she's tiny, but she rents small washing machines. So you can rent it for 2 hours, 4 hours, or a day. And so it's door-to-door washing machines. She has a cart, she takes them, and someone delivers them for 2 hours, 4 hours, or for a day, because there are no laundromats there. And people would love to rent a small washing machine. So, and they come up with these ideas on their own, and they're just great.
We have a model where we try to bring similar businesses together to collaborate. So the childcare businesses around the state of Connecticut will get together at a round table and talk about what they're doing as far as, you know, collecting money from their, you know, clients, their issues or regulatory changes. If you want to go from being a home-based daycare to a daycare center, the regulations are crazy. It's really difficult. So if you've got some people that are happy to mentor other businesses through that process, you know, there's only so much expertise, you know, a couple of us can have. It really makes a big difference. We've got a hair salon that's been wildly successful in marketing, and they're just a really great business, and they love to pay forward. So if I have anybody that needs help with any kind of marketing, it doesn't matter if they're a hair salon or not, they'll sit down and give them lots of ideas about how they can market their business. So we do kind of a collaborative approach that way. We also do have kind of a network now where we've got people that are manufacturing things in Connecticut, and I've got a couple different distributors that can work with them to distribute their products. So that's kind of a new thing that's happening in our local market, which is kind of exciting. And so we do try to create some of that synergy for sure.
One example I can give to tell you, we have a borrower decorating business, the birthday party or any Christmas, the decoration. And she declared that if any Grameen clients, if they ask, she will give 5% discount. So that type of discounting and connection they have. They know if I go to another clients, I can get some concession, some discount. Mm-hmm. So they are doing their business among themselves also.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Is it just microloans alone that lift people out of poverty, or are there some other factors that are necessary to have in place to have people get out of poverty?
Oh, there's a whole human life has so many different dimensions that you need to address. I mean, microloan is a financial service. It gives you an opportunity to use this money to bring credit and so bring income for yourself. But so many other things: education, healthcare, technology, many other things, opportunities, regulatory issues. You cannot skip them. So you have to look at it in a comprehensive way. So we are talking only about the microcredit part of it. But probably she is very good in doing something and she would like to do that. But the regulators say, you can't do that. You need a certificate. You have to go to some place, you go to a training program, pass exams and so on. Otherwise you can't get into this business. Or you want to sell something on the street, they say, you need a license. So you got to start. So you have to see them different ways. I do that, but I don't know how to read, how to write. I don't know what people are doing around me. So I need education and to understand how these things can be done, whether they're fooling me, taking out of me lots more money than they're supposed to take from me, and those kind of things. Like $2 I mentioned to you. The biggest problem that entire Grameen America, probably these $2. Because no bank in the United States is willing to open a bank account to take deposit of $2. So not only they don't lend money, they don't want to take my money. So that's the kind of environment you're dealing with. And he spends more time dealing with this problem of putting the $2 into the bank than the rest of the other problem. Mm-hmm. So those are the kind of things.
Yeah. Any other?
And healthcare is a major issue. That's why he's.
You should read the most current issue of Time magazine that has the pill on the cover of it. It's a 24,000 word description of American healthcare, and it says very clearly that what happens is that the lower income people get the highest charges. The people who have insurance, people who are employed, they have employers, they have insurance companies that help keep the rates down. And then sort of the what they call their charge master rates, or the highest rates, and that's what our customers get. And just to give you a few examples, we had one of our center managers, Shirley Lemieux. She had a very common operation, and we had a misunderstanding where she happened to be uninsured. Her charges for 2 2 days in the hospital in the operation were $80,000, and she was uninsured. But I knew how to negotiate it down, and it was my responsibility. I should have made sure that she had COBRA. She switched from one operation to the other, but we got it down to $20,000. Well, $20,000 was 50% of her income. And when we ask borrowers if they have any health care bills that they're still paying down on, a surprising amount will be paying down $10,000 and $20,000 bills. So when you ask us, are there other things people need? Yeah, you could do great in your business and then lose it all and go bankrupt because of a medical bill. So we are going to get the Grameen borrowers the best health care in the world at rates that they can afford, and we're going to keep them out of the hospital, but if they have to go to the hospital, and what's nice about it is that in New York City, North Shore Long Island Jewish, Mount Sinai, and Elmhurst, the other hospitals, are willing to work with us because they're typically uninsured. They don't really want our customers there, so if we can keep them out, they're really happy. So we have the big hospitals, and United Healthcare is working with us because it just isn't working, and we're going to make it work. So you really need a healthcare program that's designed for low-income people that they can afford, and we need the help of your nurses and your medical school to really make it great. And we need to bring some of the nurses from Bangladesh here to finish off their degree.
I have your card. We'll be working on it.
Okay.
Yes, please.
Would you have a question? And then I'll have you, Bob, okay?
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ives. I am an international business major here at Quinnipiac and a minor in finance. It's clear that the main stakeholders of microlending are women, and I can see that personally. I can say because I have personal experiences with it. In my community in Brazil, because I'm originally from there, there are some banks that deal with microlending, and usually women are the ones that want to activate their communities economically, and they are the main ones to borrow money from those banks. And one of the reasons why Brazil has taken 60 million people out of poverty is microlending. And I'm wondering if, since there's a lot of interest from women, if the Grameen Bank has any program directed to young people, because I assume that those people would also be interested in increasing the demand for microlending opportunities.
Thank you.
One automatically comes in our system because of the young people that we have helped go into education and finish their education, give them education loans. And one problem came right at the beginning when their first batch of students coming at the university degrees and so on. So there's no job in the country. So you can have your degree, but no job. That created a lot of tension among them. So I went around and tried to promote the idea that forget about jobs. You are a different kind of young people. You are very privileged young people because your mother owns a bank. And your mother's bank has endless amount of money. Who needs a job? You create jobs. So you figure it out how you want to create jobs, not only for yourself, for many other people. So I said this should become a pledge among yourselves as you get up to bed. You repeat that pledge. I'm not a job seeker, I'm a job giver. Giving job is the mission of my life. And then figure out how you do that. And people say, I don't know what to do, where to start. I said, if you don't know, just look at your mother. What she did. She was an illiterate woman. She started her life with $40 loan, $30 loan. And over the last 20 years, she has moved from that $40 to $10,000, $12,000, and all by herself. And in the meantime, raised you, sent you to the university, and you graduated. What good is your education if you're not better than your mother? She's an illiterate woman. She has done all this. So you have an in-house business consultant right there to tell you how to run businesses. So take your mother's business, whatever she built, make it 50 times larger. And that's your job. And she's providing the money. Her bank is providing the money. So many young people are now starting businesses with the Grameen Bank loans. It's a whole series of new second generation activity. Yeah. So they're boys, girls, and all those kind of people. Yeah.
Any other comments? Okay, Bob?
I'm Bob Engel, international business faculty. I imagine over the years you've learned a great deal about how to profile and how to choose people, and I'm sure that's evolved. I'd like to hear a little bit about how you're currently going about choosing the people you do to actually loan money to, and also what percentage of those people are successful. How, of all the people you see, how many actually get some type of loan?
One quick answer to that: we don't choose people. We think everybody is capable, everybody needs to be reached. Nobody should be dropped. So we are not in the mood of rejecting anybody. We are in the mood of including everybody, because this is for them. Everybody has a life. So today in Bangladesh, Grameen Bank has 8.5 million borrowers. And if you take all other NGOs put together, probably they will come up with another 8.5 million, all combined. So together you're talking about 16, 17 million people, 17 million families in a country of probably 26 to 30 million families. So you are about 90% of all the poor families are included. 10% is a kind of a transitional, they're not there, some come back and go back again. So we are making sure that everybody is included, nobody is left out. We are making things tailor-made for her, so that she is not said, no, it doesn't suit me. We'll try to suit you. Well, how would you like us to make with you? So that's one thing, that inclusiveness. And other things, that you join a group of 5. So all other problems you have to resolve within that group of 5. And initially we were told that in the States this will not work, because they are very independent people, they don't know each other. They live in a city like New York, where neighbor doesn't know the neighbor, never saw her, never know. And that's where we are talking about. In one place, which is the most concentrated place, Jackson Heights, they have 4,000 borrowers.
200.
So meaning almost every other family is in Grameen Bank right there, in the Grameen America program. So he's not in the mood of excluding anybody. He's saying, okay, find your 4 other friends, find your group. We are in business, come on, get it started. So that's the way. If somebody has a chronic problem, she is a business failure, she doesn't know how to do that, the whole machine gets activated how to pull her up. So the gear, to rejection gear, we don't have that rejection gear. We are also inclusion gear. She has a problem, she has a drinking problem, she has a drug problem, she has that problem. We said, how do you overcome that? We cannot exclude her. So we have to figure out how to make that happen. It's not easy, but it works.
Mm-hmm. Anybody else have a comment on that, Vidar?
Well, the guy that started, I think it's LinkedIn, he gave a graduation speech recently where he quoted Professor Yunus saying that everybody was an entrepreneur at some point. When people were in the caves, they didn't go to the office for work. They went out and found their own food. So here's the founder of one of the most successful companies in the world quoting Professor Yunus on the fact that everybody is an entrepreneur. Everybody. No one should be excluded.
Buck, do you have any comments on the how your company does that?
You know, we are very exclusive, sadly. We're pretty rough. We operate way more like a bank. You know, we borrow the money at our risk, and we loan it at our risk. So we have typical banking underwriting standards. They're definitely lower than a bank, and we've got wiggle room. But we pick and choose. You know, we pull credit. People need collateral. We like to see people have some cash to put in. We like to see industry experience. We want, if you have supporting income, it's really important. So if you're going to start a business and your spouse works. But again, we're dealing with a level of borrower that has a lot more expenses. You know, they have mortgages, they have a higher rent, they have 2 car payments, they have children in college. So it's just, again, we're filling a need. But the risks in some ways are higher for us because you've got a lot more fixed costs to deal with right off the bat. And if your business won't produce cash in the first 6 months, not only can you not pay us back, but you can't pay your mortgage, and then you're going to end up, defaulting with the bank, and of course on your home, and defaulting with us. So it's really just a different model. We still definitely fill a need in the market and provide a lot of opportunity, and we've helped people grow some great businesses. but we definitely are exclusive. We're not inclusive. But again, it's just the model that we have to work with. If you're loaning $50,000, it's a whole different animal than if you're loaning $1,500.
But you try to help the businesses as they go.
Yeah, I mean, they get a lot of free consulting support. You know, we've also, now that we've been doing this for a while, and I've been at it for a while, we really can see that the top 20% of businesses are doing the same thing. And the bottom 20% of businesses aren't doing these things. So the person that's really working hard but doesn't have an accounting system in place, they may not be doing any kind of marketing, they really don't understand their own core values. Those folks, you know, we try to work with them to get them up here. But one of the things that we really experience is small business owner, the small business typically isn't stuck, it's the small business owner that gets stuck. They can't find the time to do the important things because they're too busy, well, wheel spinning most of the time, but they like to work at what they like to do. So I always say, you know, it's great if you're a fisherman, but you need to stop and clean the fish once in a while or you got nothing to sell. And this is the way a lot of small businesses operate. So I kind of become a psychologist for these folks and try to get them thinking about what the tools that they need to create for themselves so they can more effectively manage their businesses and go forward. And we're definitely seeing a lot of improvement in our portfolio because of that type of work. But it's a tough grind a lot of times for small business owners. You know, I also do a lot of counseling with people on, is this the lifestyle you really want? You know, you think in terms of how many hours you're actually going to put in. You have 3 children. And so sometimes I'm pretty good at talking someone out of starting their own business because it really isn't going to, they really don't know what they're getting into. So I might bring them to a small business owner that's actually in that business and they'll see the reality of what they're going to be, you know, faced with and the pressures that they're going to be under. Because while everyone, I think, does have certain entrepreneurial spirit, it really takes a lot of fortitude to manage a business that's going to need to generate $200,000 to $300,000 in order for you to meet all of your obligations. And it certainly requires a lot of experience and tapping into the people around you. So again, it's just a different model, but it's an effective one, and it provides me with a lot of great opportunity, and a lot of borrowers have really benefited from it.
Okay. Matt, you have
Thanks. Matt O'Connor, Dean of the Business School. We all know about the success factor in terms of payback rates for microcredit. But I'm wondering if you have any other formal measures of impact or success, and if so, could you share them with the students so they can get a sort of a broader sense of what it means to be successful in this arena?
In Grameen Bank, early on, we adopted something called 10 indicators. And it goes like, we are always, in the beginning, we are always looking for the poorest people to get in, because we had lots of restriction. If you're not poor, you can't get in. So we want to make sure you are poor. How do you look at it? Because we go and visit the homes before we discuss. We never discuss something in the office. We're always at your home. So we make an appointment to come and see you. By looking at the house, we make a guess that she is not at the level that we are looking for. And one of the criteria is it has to be a single room house. If you have 2 rooms, you are above our thing. If you have a single room, we look at the roof. If it's a leaky roof, you are our person. If you have a solid roof, sorry, you have to wait, because we are looking for the leaky roof people. And then you have one room and a leaky roof, but you have a bed, you have a chair, you have a table. Sorry, you are looking for people who have no furniture at all, who sleep on the floor. So please wait until we get through the people on the floor. So this is how we focus. Then we see indicators. What kind of house she has now. Does she have a solid roof? If she has a solid roof, you now pass from leaky roof to the solid roof. Does she have access to drinking water? Because we also provide loans for putting a tube well and so on. So she has access to safe drinking water. Does she have warm clothing for all the family members? We are a warm country, but our winter gets really cold. We are not used to having our houses and things for winter. It's all for summer, warm, because everything is open. So it's a very cold wind just gets in. You can't protect it anymore. and it's 6 degrees Celsius, something like that. So you have to have warm clothing. People die in our winters because of the cold that they are not used to. So do they have enough warm clothing? Do the family members now live in bed instead on the floor? So this is something that you ensure. Do you have the sanitary latrine for latrine? So that's another one. So do they have enough money in the savings account? And our amount is 5,000 taka balance you have throughout the year. Meaning that can the family cope with their emergencies? They have enough money in the savings account. Do the children all go to school? If they all go to school, then so you have to have all these 10 tick marks, then you have done it. If you still have 2 left, the branch will be responsible to make sure to solve all those 2 for this family. So that if you don't have the drinking water, then make arrangement, give them a loan for drinking water and so on. If the children are not at school, help them to get into the school, because it's the responsibility of the bank to make sure the children are in the school. So we are not saying, this is none of our business. We don't say that. This is our business. So our business to help them to achieve those 10 marks so that they get out.
Any other comments?
Well, a lot of people have said that they really want to measure whether their income has increased, and people all over the world don't like to talk to strangers about their income because who knows if it's the IRS or whatever. So what Professor Yunus has in his 10 indicators, they tend to be very objective. How much do you have in savings? Do you have a sanitary latrine? And so forth. In New York here, before our borrowers join, they typically have no savings account, no credit score. Whereas after the training and after they get their first loan, they have a savings account and they're on their way to a credit score. So if nothing else happens but that they have a savings account, a place where they can deposit checks, and are on a path to a credit score, that's a great accomplishment. And Shah is working on developing sort of similar indicators here for this country. And then we're going to be working on a randomized controlled trial, which will be very complicated and very difficult, but we're going to do it where we compare borrowers to non-borrowers and how do they do over time. But even if you just take the obvious, like we get them a savings account, we get them a good credit score, and you ask them, are you better off now with your Grameen loan than before you had it? Almost 100% will say yes. You can tell, we ask them, how do you like the program, and you can tell they love it.
Mm-hmm. Any comments, Shah? You're good? Okay.
Yeah, we don't really have any specific measurables in order to make these determinations. It becomes more anecdotal. The great stories that we have kind of rule the day. I spoke with Dean from the last panel about how we could actually maybe do something like that, and he said, don't bother. How many loans do you have? I said 80. He said, don't bother. It'd be a waste of your money. It's very hard to get your arms around something like that. We did do a study around a business that we helped start in Stamford. They literally opened on like the wrong side of the tracks, like the south side of 95 in the 90s. And that whole area of 95 was just abandoned warehouses, just one abandoned warehouse after another, very run down, not even really a safe area. And we had a couple of guys who started an antique center. So if you were an antique dealer, you could come in and have a space in their old warehouse that they fixed up, and you could sell antiques. And from that first center that was opened, I think there are 8 or 10 big centers like that now. And we kind of did an assessment on, well, I did an assessment at the town hall around how the tax base changed and how many people were actually employed in that area now. What kind of revenues were being generated, what kind of sales taxes were being generated, and it was all part of our annual report for that year. Was it super accurate? It was okay. It was a shot at it. Clearly, it created a picture of what one group of people, or two guys who were interested in trying to make something out of nothing, the impact they could have, and a $35,000 microloan, what that did for them at the time. But in terms of a long-term picture of what it does and how to assess that, it's really, really difficult.
Okay, in the few minutes that we have left, I'd like to have each panelist do a closing remark, whatever you want to say about microloans or anything related to microfinance, and end with Dr. Yunus, if we can do that.
Great. Well, I'm going to say that if you want to start a microfinance operation or work for one that has people like Shah at the head of it who have 20 to 30 years of experience, because they only know how to do it so that it works. They don't know how to do it the wrong way. And then that has given us the freedom now to move on to healthcare. And those of you in healthcare, we would love to have your help in making healthcare affordable and high quality for everyone. And there's just no doubt but that it can be done, and we need the participation of people like you to do it. So let us know if you want to join us in that.
Mm-hmm. Shah?
The Grameen program, you see, the starting is little tough, because when I started, the people, they don't know what is called Grameen and microcredit. I went to door, and sometimes I did not get a good result. But once it is established, once I disburse the loans, at the times it has been growing and growing and growing. So that time is a frustration time to start off a first group up to disbursement. But once you disburse, then you don't face any problem, but every day you will get a good result, happy news. And that we have been observing every day. Our borrowers are they are saying that the last month I did this, and this month this is my developments, and every day we have been observing. Already I have mentioned that she was selling the flowers on the street. Now she has a store, and already Mr. Vidar mentioned that start with the grocery shop. I mean the saloon, but now add a shoe and other parts. So every day our center managers, they are getting encouraged to see this type of impact, and we are saying that this is the Grameen family. This Grameen family means the borrower, staff, and management. All we are in the Grameen family. We know each other very much. And all of our staff and I know our borrowers' name, their children names, and their businesses, and their development. So this happiness makes our staff very enthusiastic, and they are working hard, but they have a good satisfaction. And this is the, I think, the secret of our success. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Buck?
I think that's where our two programs really have something in common. We really make it a point to embrace our borrowers as friends and family, and we make sure that we're all on the same page. We know what's happening with their business, with their personal lives. If they have issues that they're facing personally, health issues, family issues, we've had, 2 hurricanes, terrible snowstorms. These all impact small business people dramatically. We provide deferments for them. We do anything we can to try to help them change their loan payments so that they can be successful in the long run and not cripple them and try to put them out of business and take their assets away from them to cover ourselves. So that really makes this part of the business the most rewarding part to me. I can pretty much walk into any of the businesses that I work with and immediately get a big smile and a handshake and an honest appraisal of what's happening and how they're doing. And 9 times out of 10, people are just super appreciative of the opportunity that we've been able to give them. So for anybody who's interested in microfinance, I think Grameen Bank presents an amazing opportunity for people. And then there are lots of other, Dr. Yunus was saying in the earlier session, we have for-profit business. It's all about making money and maximizing shareholder value. What about this idea of a social business? And what about the idea of working in an environment where you are actually supporting the people around you? Yeah, you make a little bit less money, but you know what? At the end of the day, you have a much more gratifying career. So I would encourage everybody to consider that as you're looking at your careers going forward and taking advantage of opportunities that are going to really support your own lifestyle and support who you are. worked for myself for a long time, but I was uncomfortable doing it. I love what I'm doing now. So, it's just a question of figuring out sometimes that there's definitely alternatives that can make sense for you personally.
Yeah, I think I should mention the idea of social business there because you raised it. One of the problems we see in microcredit, people are producing things and selling things. You help them to produce. They buy the ingredients or cost of the product they produce. But they can't get a good price for their products. They can't sell at the market they should sell. So this becomes a limiting factor for them. One example right now, there's varieties of examples, one just to concentrate. Recently I was in Albania. We're going through the villages and looking at what they produce and so on. We collected all those things from villages, what the women are producing in the villages, and brought it down to the place and laid it on the table. They make excellent honey in the villages. Put it in the Coca-Cola bottle or any such bottle. They could find water bottle, empty water bottle. They put there. And they're trying to sell it in the market and so on. Of course, they don't get a price because if you put honey in a Coca-Cola bottle, people say, this is not hygienic, doesn't look good. And they have all kinds of jams, jellies, and so on. Beautiful thing that they're very tasty. Put it in a cosmetic container because that's what they got to put something in, and they're trying to sell it in the market. So what we did, we created a marketing company which will produce standard honey containers, jam containers, and bottles and everything as a social business, and labeling and branding, so that they're producing their own thing, but they all go through the same standardization, put it in those containers, and so on is done, and market in a way, then advertise it. This is a product produced from the such and such, as hygienic. So immediately transform the whole scenario. The same thing which you didn't pay any attention, suddenly you started looking at it and holding it because it looks beautiful. It's a global standard, and you can put it in a big chain store. We supply you the jam, we supply you the honey with this level, with this thing. So simple like that. And that is a social business. They don't want to make money for themselves, simply helping people to get the right price they deserve and bring it back to them. So this could be applied in many, many things. Another thing we already doing that is in Ghana as a social business. Use shea butter. Women use it for skin and so on. It's a L'Oreal product, very expensive, and everybody loves it all over the world. It starts with shea nut, a nut produced in Ghana in the forest, naturally grown. It's the poor women who dare into the forest to pick these nuts. And they bring it out and then take it to the local market and sell it for pennies, literally, because that's what they can get. And then it will change hands from one level to the next level to the next level, ultimately to the big exporter who exports it, L'Oreal buying in tons and tons of this for their shea butter. The shea nut, those who are collecting it, they get the pennies, but the people who are exporting it, they're getting bulk of the money, and the consumers are paying very high price. So the consumer paying the high price, producers not getting the price. So we created a social business, and I sat down with the president of L'Oreal. I said, this is an issue. We would like to create a social business. Would you buy it from us? He said, you will have the highest priority from our company because I'm paying the same price I pay to anybody else to you. And you are promising to give it to the women that we cannot reach. And as much as you can sell, we'll buy from you. And after that, if you still need, then we'll go for the other two. That's it. So now the company has started, and we're going through the learning process, how to do that. But the idea is a very simple thing. It happens in any primary producing situation, in agricultural produce and also all kinds, handicrafts particularly. All the things that you see in the stores here saying this is coming from that country, most likely they're not getting the right price. But you are promoting that, you want to buy this because it comes from the hands of the women embroidering and designing and so on. So there we can create that social business to handle that. So that's where the role of the social business comes, that we can solve this problem in one go, right one, two. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for your comments. Can you, the audience, join me in thanking the
Thank you.